Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Beer Rating with Sean Connors. As you can see, the beverage I have this week is Wheelhouse Radler, and that's from Spindrift Brewery in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Just pour this up. You can see a nice golden color. And this, the brewery calls this a seasonal summer light beer. It's 4% alcohol, and it's actually, this might throw you off a little bit if you're not familiar with Radlers. It is infused with exotic citrus fruit, and in this case, it's grapefruit, lemon, and tangerine. Now, to be totally honest, I've never had one before, and I honestly never had the desire to have one before, but with the program, I'm open to try new things, and this is definitely something new for me. The whole concept of mixing beer and fruit juice kind of threw me off, and I'll explain a little bit more about Radlers now in a second. I honestly didn't even consider it a beer, but it's considered a seasonal light beer. And even from here I can smell the fruit. And I definitely smell it. It smelled like grapefruit. It's different, I'll give it that. It's one of those ones, kind of like the sour beer last week. It's one of those things I thought I'd never try, but here we are. It's not bad. I'm quite surprised, actually. I didn't think I'd like it. Not sure if it's something I'd drink on a regular basis, but it's, like I said, it's a summer beer, so they consider it a thirst quencher. And quite honestly, I can see that just from the couple of little sips I've tasted. Not a lot of carbonization. There's a little bit there. As you can see, when I poured it up, not much of a head whatsoever. I'm actually quite surprised. I was ready, just from the thoughts of it, I figured this was going to be a 2 at best, but I'm actually quite surprised. Alright, a little bit about this, if you're not familiar with the whole concept of Radlers. It's a German thing, specifically Bavarian. And if you go over there, you might see it be called Radler Mass. And the translation for Radler Mass is just cyclist leader. Radler, cyclist, mass leader. And you're probably going, what the hell is cyclist leader? But we'll get to that in a second. So in the traditional sense, a Radler is 50-50. And that's a 50% various types of beer, and the other 50% is a German-style clear lemonade. As I said, this one's a little bit different. This is a North American version. As I said, it's a grapefruit, lemon, and tangerines. And the little bit of knowledge that I did have about Radlers before this was very limited. I thought it was just a grapefruit juice, but the traditional Radler is, in fact, lemonade, a clear-style German lemonade. The British actually have their own version. The Radler or Radler Mass, I'll call it Radler because that's what we know it in North America. The English equivalent or the British equivalent would be what they call a shanty, or shanty, S-H-A-N-D-Y, a shanty, which is ginger beer and lemonade. So that's their thing. And as I said, it's a summer beer. It's a thirst quencher, and that's their big claim to fame. And they say it's sweet, sour, and bitter all into one. So you get all the different flavors. And I'm actually getting it. I'm actually quite surprised. It is definitely a thirst quencher. I'm really surprised. Like, I can see on a summer day, definitely pound back a couple of these with ease, especially it being 4% alcohol. Quite surprised, quite pleasantly surprised. Okay, a little bit more about it. In Germany, prior to the 1990s, you couldn't even get this in a can or a bottle. The only way by law it could be served was in a beer garden, where they actually poured a half a liter of the lemonade and then a half a liter of the beer. And that's where the Ras Madler, or the Mass, that's where liter comes from. Now the Radler part I'll also get to in a second. So back in the Roaring 20s, in 1922, the war is just over, economies are growing, that's why they call it the Roaring 20s. There's a gentleman in France, specifically in the Bavarian region of France, down around Munich, Franz Xavier Krugler, K-U-G-L-E-R, I'm probably not spelling it right. At that time, the 20s, the Roaring 20s, in that area, it was a cyclist boom. Everybody was riding bikes. So Franz, being an entrepreneur, he wanted to get in on this. And he was an innkeeper just outside Munich. So what he did, he actually built a bicycle trail from the city of Munich to his inn, hoping to draw bicyclists that would, go on their bikes, go for a ride, end up at his tavern or his inn where they could have a couple beers. And he was actually quite successful. And one June day in 1922, to his surprise, he had 1,300 cyclists showed up at the inn. And of course, after a long bike ride, what they wanted? They wanted a beer. The problem is, poor Franz was getting low on beer. But what he did have, he had a shitload of lemon soda that he couldn't get rid of. So being low on beer and having all this extra lemon soda, he actually combined the two, and thus became the Radler. And that's where we're here today. So if you do like it, by all means, you can thank Franz over in a Bavarian section of Germany. A little bit more about it just to end off. The Austrians have their own version, except for instead of using the clear lemonade, they have their own, I think it's a cloudy orange lemonade. So same idea, but there are variations. There's other variations too. There's also a Russen Mass, Russen Mass, and that's a Heffenweiser and lemonade. Heffenweiser is basically a wheat beer. They also have another one that you call a diesel, and that's a lager and cola. And the result is a dark drink which resembles the same color as diesel. And another one is a cola-weiser, and that's basically Heffenweiser and cola. And I'm sure there's other ones around the world. Like I said, I don't have a lot of knowledge, but the little bit that I did have, it was always grapefruit and beer. So I don't know if that's a specific version of where I came up from that, but there you go. And that's our Radler. Now I got to give it a rating. Like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't think it's something I'd pick up on a regular basis, but it's definitely, I'd like to try it on a hot summer day. So let's see what I'm going to give it. It's definitely thirst quenching. I'm enjoying a lot more than I thought it would. It's definitely it's something. If you like beer, but you're stuck on your particular type of beer, and if you're watching the videos and you want to expand your beer taste, but you don't want to go far off, like you're not ready to. If you're used to say a Labatt's or a Molson product, but you don't want to go straight to a stout or maybe a sour beer like I had last week, but you want to slowly ease your way into it, give it a try. I'm sure there's other breweries around that do a Radler, so by all means give it a try. So for the Spindrift Wheelhouse Radler from out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, my rating. I think I'm quite comfortable giving this a 3.5. As I said, it's a lot better than I expected. Quite honestly, I was expecting to give it maybe a 2.5. But keep an open mind. So I'm comfortable giving it a 3.5. It's definitely one I'm enjoying. As you can see, I've almost have it gone already. I'd definitely pick it up again. I don't think I'd pick it up on a regular basis. By all means, I'd love to try it on a hot summer day, sitting at the lake or the cabin. I'd definitely pick up a 6-pack and give it a try, pass it around, see what other people think. So I think I'm quite comfortable with a 3.5. So there you go, folks. That's my testing for this week. Next week, I think I'm going to try a chocolate stout I've been holding there for a while. I've never had a chocolate stout. The few stouts that I have had, I've always liked the good Guinness, and the ones I've tried so far on this program, they've all been more coffee than anything else. So this one's a chocolate stout. I've never had a chocolate stout, so I'm kind of looking forward to tasting that. So hopefully everybody can join me for the next episode. So folks, until next beer, as always, enjoy responsibly, and I hope people will pick this up and tell me if you agree with the 3.5. Cheers.